Hi everyone, this is Thandile Mayekiso once again. This is the last video that I am making, this is the last video and recording that I'm making on the first introduction of the Book of Mormon, so that we get that clear and straight up, so that we don't have any confusion. So it's gonna be back-to-back episodes, not one day, obviously. I just hope that the algorithm work with me and help me to gain traction to the people. But I will upload these in 1 week, and then afterwards, when I now enter the book, studying of the book, I it might be every day. It might be every day. It might be every day. Um, but what I'll do is I will pre-record the first few. In fact, I will say the first seven, just so that I give myself enough time, because as I'm studying the Book of Mormon, I'm not just reading, you know, I'm not just reading so that you guys can know what it talks about, but I want to take you through my journey as I study the Book of Mormon. Because what's going to happen is, as I'm studying, I won't just focus on the first page of the Book of Mormon. You will see me open other books, just so that I understand a principle in that chapter that I'll be reading. So this is an extensive studying that I'm actually doing. This exercise is not something very easy to do. And so I hope you enjoy this process that I'm taking. I will be utilizing even come follow me manuals and other manuals that are available to me, just so that I understand the principles. So what I think I'll do is, I think I'll study first the Book of Mormon, and then once I'm done, I will then go to like come follow me, and like an institute manual, just so I can grasp the idea that was being portrayed in that certain chapter, just so I can understand and ma- marinate on that knowledge, and then make my own notes, the things that are coming into my mind. So that's what I want to share. Because yes, I may be studying, you will be studying with me or gaining some knowledge through me, but I want to take you through my process of actually understanding the Book of Mormon, and actually it making sense to you through my experience, because I want to take you through my journey. So yes, I'm gonna be uploading every day. That's a commitment that's gonna be very heavy on me, but that's a commitment that I'm willing to keep. I want to be consistent, and I want to make sure that I am consistent with my studying of the Book of Mormon, and you guys are going to help me with that consistency. Yes, not all of you will be in support of the Book of Mormon because you don't know much about it, you have questions about it, some of you have bad experiences from members of the church, and so you don't want to hear anything about the Book of Mormon. But I just invite you to be with me on this journey. You know nothing about me, I know nothing about you. I'm just a brother from South Africa studying his Book of Mormon, and I've just decided to share it with the world. One of my goals before I went and served a mission was to make an impact in life, and this is how I'm doing it. Okay, so I hope I make myself proud, and I make my Father in heaven proud, and I hope one day you'll say thank you for doing that. Thank you for studying in front of me. That helped me gain my own testimony. I didn't understand, but now I understand because of you. So I'm challenging myself because I've been very complacent. I've been procrastinating a lot, especially when it comes to studying my scriptures. So I'm putting that away. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So that's why I need your support. I don't need monetary support, though I do need it, but I don't really need it. If you get my drift, I don't really need the support as much as I need the support of keep going, those cheers. And if YouTube decides to give me some money, hey, I'll accept, because I eventually want this to be something that is not more than just a hobby, but something that I'm able to make an impact. And if it also impacts my pockets, then those are blessings that I'm willing to receive. All right. So today we are doing the testimony of the prophet Joseph Smith. We've heard about the introduction, what the Book of Mormon tells us. We heard about the witnesses from the 8 people and the 3 people. Now let's learn from the man himself, who's now dead, but in 1814, what happened to this young man? The prophet Joseph Smith's own words about the coming forth of the Book of Mormon are: on the on the evening of the 21st of September 1823, I betook myself to prayer and supplication to Almighty God. So he was not 14 at this time, I'm mistaken, my apologies. Um, while I was thus in the act of calling upon God, I discovered a light appearing in my room, which continued to increase until the room was lighter than at noonday, when immediately a personage appeared at my bedside, and standing in the air, for his feet did not touch the floor, he had on a loose robe of most exquisite whiteness. It was a whiteness beyond anything earthly I had ever seen, nor do I believe that any earthly thing could be made to appear so exceedingly white and brilliant. His hands were naked, and his arms also, a little above the wrists, so also were his feet naked, as were his legs, a little above the ankles. His head and neck were also bare. I could discover that he had no other clothing on but this robe, as it was open, so that I could see into his bosom. Not only was his robe exceedingly white, but his whole person was glorious beyond description, and this countenance truly like lightning. The room was exceedingly light, but not so very bright as immediately around him his person. When I first looked upon him, I was afraid, but the fear soon left me. He called me by name, and said unto me that he was a messenger sent from the presence of God to me, and that his name was Moroni, that God had a work for me to do, and that my name should be heard for good and evil among all nations, kindreds, tongues, or it should be in both good and evil spoken of among all people. He said there was a book deposited, written upon gold plates, giving an account of former inhabitants of this continent, and the source from whence they sprang. He also said that the fullness of the everlasting gospel was contained in it, as, as delivered by the Savior to the ancient inhabitants. Also, that there were 2 stones in silver bowls, and these stones fastened to a breastplate constituted that what is called the Urim and Thummim, deposited with the plates, and the possession and use of these stones were what constituted seers in ancient or former times, and that God had prepared them for the purpose of translating the book. Again, he told me that when I got those plates, of which he had spoken, for the time that they should be obtained was not yet fulfilled, I should not show them to any person, neither the breastplates with the Urim and Thummim, only to those to whom I should be commanded to show them. If I did show, if I did, I should be destroyed. While he was conversing with me about the plates, the vision was opened to my mind, that I could see the place where the plates were deposited, and that so clearly and distinctly that I knew the place again when I visited it. After this communication, I saw the light in the room begin to gather immediately around the person of whom he had um, around the person of whom who had been speaking to me, and it continued to do so until the room was again left dark, except just around him. When instantly I saw, as it were, a conduit open right up into heaven, and he ascended until he entirely disappeared, and the room was left as it were, as it had been before this heavenly light had made its appearance. I lay musing on the singularity of the scene, and marveling greatly at what had been told to me by this extraordinary messenger. When in the midst of my meditation, I suddenly discovered that my room was again beginning to get lightened, and in an instant, as it were, the same heavenly messenger was again by my bedside. He commenced and again related the very same things which he had done at his first visit, without the least variation, which having done, he informed me of great judgments which were coming upon the earth, with great desolations by famine, sword, and pestilence, and that these grievous judgments would come on the earth in this generation. Having related these things, he again ascended, he had done as he had done before. By this time, so deep were the impressions made on my mind that sleep had fled from my eyes, and I lay overwhelmed in astonishment at what I had both seen and heard. But what was my surprise when again I beheld the same messenger at my bedside, and heard him rehearse or repeat over again to me the same things as before, and added a caution to me, telling me that Satan would try to tempt me in consequence of the indigent circumstances of my father's family, to get the plates for the purpose of getting rich. This he forbade me, saying that I must have no other object in view in getting the plates but to glorify God, and must not be influenced by any other motive than that of building his kingdom. Otherwise, I would not get them. After this third visit, he again ascended into heaven as before, and I was again left to ponder on the strangeness of what I had just experienced, when almost immediately after the heavenly messenger had ascended from me the third time, the cock crowed, and I found that day was approaching, so that our interviews must have occupied the whole of that night. I shortly after arose from my bed, and as usual went to the necessary labors of the day. But in attempting to work as at other times, I found my strength so exhausted as to render me entirely unable. My father, who was laboring along with me, discovered something to be wrong with me and told me to go home. I started with the intention of going to the house, but in attempting to cross the fence out of the field where we were, my strength entirely failed me, and I fell helpless on the ground, and for a time I was quite unconscious of anything. The first thing that I can recollect was a voice speaking unto me, calling me by name. I looked up and beheld the same messenger standing over my head, surrounded by light as before. He then again related unto me all that he had related to me the previous night, and commanded me to go to my father and tell him of the vision and commandments which I had received. I obeyed. I returned to my father in the field, and rehearsed the whole matter to him. He replied to me that it was of God, and told me to go and do as commanded by the messenger. I left the field and went to the place where the messenger had told me the plates were deposited, and owing to the dis- and owing to the distinctness of the vision which I had had concerning it, I knew the place the instant that I arrived there. Convening to the village of Manchester, Ontario County, New York, stands a hill of considerable size, and the most elevated of any in the neighborhood. On the west side of this hill, not far from the top, under a stone of considerable size, lay the plates deposited in a stone box. This stone was thick and rounding in the middle of the upper side and thinner towards the edges, so that in the middle part of it was visible above the ground, but the edge was all around was covered with earth. Having removed the earth, I obtained a lever which I got fixed under the edge of the stone, and with a little exertion raised it up. I looked in, and there indeed did I behold the plates, the Urim and Thummim, and the breastplates as stated by the messenger. The box in which they lay was formed by laying stones together in some kind of cement. In the bottom, the box was laid two stones crossways of the box, and on these stones lay the plates and the other things with them. I made an attempt to take them, but was forbidden by the messenger, and was again informed that the time for bringing them forth had not yet arrived, neither would it until 4 years from the time, but told me that I should come to that place precisely in 1 year from that time, and that he would there meet with me, and that I should continue to do so until the time should come for obtaining the plates. Accordingly, as I had been commanded, I went at the end of each year, and at each time I found the same messenger there, and received instruction and intelligence from him at each of our interviews respecting that what the Lord was going to do, and how and in what manner his kingdom was to be conducted in the last days. At length, the time arrived for obtaining the plates, the Urim and Thummim, and the breastplates. On the 22nd day of September, 1827, having gone as usual at the end of another year to the place where they were deposited, the same heavenly messenger delivered them up to me with this charge, that I should be responsible for them, that if I should let them go carelessly or through any neglect of mine, I should be cut off, but but if I would use all my endeavors to preserve them until he, the messenger, should call for them, they should be protected. I soon found out the reason why I had received such strict charges to keep them safe, and why it was that the messenger had said that when I had gone what was required at my hand, he called he would call for them. For no sooner was it known that I had them, that the most strenuous were used to exertions were used to get them from me. Every stratagem that could be invented was resorted to for that purpose. The persecution became more bitter and severe than before, and the multitudes were on the alert continually to get them from me, if possible. But by the wisdom of God, they remained safe in my hands until I had accomplished by them what was required at my hand. When, according to the arrangements, the messenger called for them, I delivered them up unto him, and he has them in this charge until this day, being the second day of May, 1838. For the complete record, see Joseph Smith History, in the pearl of great price, the history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Volume 1, chapters 1 through 6. The ancient record thus brought forth from the earth as the voice of a people speaking from the dust, and then translated into modern speech by the gift and power of God, as attested by divine affirmation, was first published to the world in the year 1830 as the Book of Mormon. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. So, did you get that story? Did you get how we got to have the Book of Mormon right now? So, that is it, my friends. The Book of Mormon is what gathers us together to study about it, to learn about it. So, this is a brief explanation about the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon is a sacred record of peoples in ancient America and was engraven upon sheets of metal. 4 kinds of metal plates are spoken. No, I'll do a separate video on this one. I'll do a separate video on this one. Otherwise, thank you very much for tuning in on this video. I hope you learned something about the testimony of the prophet Joseph Smith. That is it, my friends. I hope you paid attention. I hope you paid attention, because when I speak, I will refer to these experiences and these times where we studied and read about the Book of Mormon and how we got to have it right now. But that is how we have the Book of Mormon. An angel appeared to the prophet Joseph Smith. He showed him where the plates were and told him to be careful, You must remember that these are human beings. They are saying gold plates. That is a form of richness, But he was warned to never do such. He was warned to take care of them and to hold himself accountable for the golden plates. Because every strategy will be attested, will be tried just to get these plates. So he needed to be careful and to be strong and use all sorts of wisdom to protect the plates from getting to the wrong hands. So I hope you enjoyed my reading today, my friends. Thank you very much for tuning in once again. Like, share, and subscribe. And once again, tell your friends and family. Thandile Mayekiso is here with the Destination Show, signing out on another great video. Thank you.